This is Project Audion, timeless audio dramas for modern times, created the classic way. Hello, I'm Larry Groebe with the Generic Radio Workshop, and this time we offer up something a little bit different. By now, we've presented over 75 classic audio dramas via Zoom. Today, instead, we're going to talk about audio drama with some of the senior creators in this field, people you've heard and seen many times on Project Audion and also in their own shows. So welcome to Meet the Creators. We've also invited one newcomer to the show, an artificial intelligence, who's dubbed Orson. He's here to discuss his possible roles in this reborn art form. But before we get to that, let's introduce each of our participants here tonight.
Hi, my name's Jeff Billard, and I'm from Massachusetts. And I spent my career as a theater professor. And I've been doing audio drama for about 3 decades now, or more maybe. And so it's something that I've been doing, and I work a lot with Jack, and of course I works a lot with Bill Holweg back in the day. And
Doug Fain.
Hi. Well, I'm in a little town of my birth called Nicholasville, Kentucky. For those that are familiar with that state, I'm about 10 miles south of Lexington. You see behind me the theater, which my group uses. We are KCAL Old Time Radio. We, in December, will start our 11th year. We do 4 shows a year to the public. In fact, this month we did a private bus tour for a group from West Virginia, and then we just did last weekend a dinner show at one of our wineries. I have a group of about 10 people, and we try to reproduce as much as we can what it would have looked like if you'd have been in an old-time radio studio. I think one of the most things that we're proud of is the fact we made it through COVID, and we still are able financially to pay our rent and our utilities and buy toilet paper and all that stuff for this little theater that we have in our downtown.
Hi, I'm Tom Konkle. I work as a voice actor. I've been really lucky to do everything from dubbing kung fu movies to I was in Star Wars, Tales of the Empire. Done a lot of voice work. My troupe really started doing audio drama during the pandemic. I was always a fan of radio going back to the 80s, but we finally had the impetus to do it when we were all kind of locked up. So my podcast is called An Audio Podcast of Questionable Distinction. And we do all kinds of things from comedy to drama. And it's just this amazing time that I have working with everybody. You know, I've worked with most of you here in the group. And that's the thing about audio is everyone can be everywhere, and yet we can be creative together, which I just think is fantastic.
Hello, I'm Pete Lutz. I am the founder of the Narada Radio Company. I'm proud to say that we have members on the East Coast, the West Coast, overseas, in various countries, and in Canada. When I was 10 years old, I first heard a recording of the War of the Worlds when my mother bought the LP from the Longines Symphonette Society, and I fell in love with radio drama. And I said, one day I will own my own radio station and broadcast brand new radio dramas to the world. That turned out to be extremely expensive. And I gave that dream up until podcasting came along. And so since 2013, when I started podcasting in earnest, I have created more than 200 audio dramas and podcasts for the public. I am just enamored of audio drama. I would rather listen to audio drama than listen to music or watch TV. I think it is just the best form of entertainment ever devised.
Robert Mills.
Yes, hi. Good to see you all again. I'm a retired TV variety show writer, and now I write OTR recreations for Audion, produced by Larry Groebe, our wonderful producer. And they include parodies of Casablanca and Witness for the Prosecution, which we had a lot of fun with both of those. And also the Maltese Falcon recently. So that's a lot. I've had a lot of fun with this group. And I really appreciate all that you all do. And it's just such a great creative bunch. It's just great to.
And you say you retire. You're retired, but who are you retired from?
Oh, Bob Hope.
Oh, that would count. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lucky, and I got into the tail end of variety television back when there were 3 networks. And on the Writers Guild, I've been a Writers Guild member since 1976. So I'm like a dinosaur, like these old Indian guys who remember all the tribal history. And when we had our recent strike, these little young kids would gather around me like that. And they'd say, "You were in television when there were 3 networks, and if you didn't work on one of them, you didn't work." I said, "Yes." Oh, well, their eyes would get wide, you know.
It was better then. It was better when there were
really
fewer
makes it-
networks.
Yeah.
Way better. I'm Patte Rosebank, 2 T's and a silent E and Pat there. Don't pronounce the E or I'll hurt you. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm actually originally from Pickering, which is about 20 miles east. We have a big power plant there, which explains a lot. My real introduction to old time radio was through the CBC, and it was 1984, and I found out CBC radio had comedy show tapings with live audiences, and the tickets were free. Just sitting there, it was really a formative experience, seeing how this stuff was done. But now, every time I listen to old time radio or any sort of audio thing, I kind of have a tug of war going on in my mind's eye, because one part of it is picturing the imagery from the actual story. The other part is picturing what I remember going on in the studio. And this is the sound effects man at stage right, and this is how he did those sound effects, and this is what the performers were doing to try and get into character. And if one of them was trying to play more than one role, if they kind of lost their place, switching from character to character, things like that. So it just, it stuck with me.
And that leaves Jack Ward next.
Hi, folks. I'm Jack Ward. I have met everybody or worked with everybody here except for Doug and Robert, but I am aware of you guys, and I do love the stuff that you do, and I hope that I can work with you in the future at some point. I started the Sonic Society. Well, I got into radio drama years and years ago. My parents would buy me albums when I was living in the country in my lovely little Charlotte's Web childhood. And I now live in around Halifax, Nova Scotia area. Started the Sonic Society in 2005. Started a show before that called Shadowlands Theatre in 2002, 2003. I also, 7 years ago, started the Mutual Audio Network because CBC ticked me off once too many times. And I said, fine, I'm just going to do my own network. And we have over 10,000 shows. We drop shows every single day. Mutual, and there are several people on the board here on Mutual, and many more people who have graciously given me your shows to be able to pass on. And I tell everybody whenever I can how great everybody's work is here, especially Tom's and Larry's, who I've really been able to get you guys involved in the 4th age of audio drama.
Jack, you just dropped a term there that I want to come right back to in a minute, but let me introduce myself and our last guest tonight. I'm Larry Groebe. I had a very brief flicker of a career as a child actor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is where I still live. Right after that flamed out, I was on the radio as a young lad in high school, because we were lucky enough to have a radio station with 5 or 10 watts that would reach, if the wind was blowing south, could be heard downtown. Yeah. And from there, a college gig as a morning DJ on the college station, and loved old time radio by then for a lot of reasons, and got involved with a gentleman who had started a museum back here in Dallas. and did my first recreation of old time radio in 1981. We have one other participant tonight. I have to couch my words carefully. Orson, would you please introduce yourself to our audience and the people here?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm Orson, your AI companion, inspired by the legendary Orson Welles. I'm here to provide assistance, answer questions, and chat about whatever interests you. I'm looking forward to engaging with all of you.
Well, we're going to talk about old-time radio and audio drama today.
That sounds fantastic. I'm definitely excited to dive into the golden age of radio and explore some classic shows and their history. Just let me know what you'd like to start with.
Well, what I want to start with is let's ask real quick. What do we all want to call this today? Now, I've heard golden age drama, I've heard radio drama, I've heard audio drama. There's numerous. Do we have a term we want to agree upon tonight, or stick to, or focus?
Well, I always thought audio fiction, to differentiate from the audio podcasts that are interviews, that I always call it audio fiction, because people are like, what are you doing? If you tell them it's a podcast, they assume it's an interview. So for me, audio drama doesn't encompass comedy enough, although it is, drama. But I always like to say audio fiction. I don't know if anyone else uses that term.
I would say audio drama.
Well, I
No,
guess
I
not.
don't.
Well, that's me all over.
I'll use audio drama if it's a dramedy, but if it's a drama, but if it's specifically a comedy, I'll say an audio comedy. It's just a
And sometimes we still call
cast,
radio drama.
Yeah, or full cast audio book. But I mean, if you're not doing it from a book, then that doesn't quite fit. But I mean, it's
or
the
a
same
spectacular adaptation of the film of the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're still doing the kind of stuff that people used to listen to on the radio, back in the day. It's just the technology of delivering it has changed.
I'm going to be the big naysayer here. This is one of the two big things that really bugs me. So I apologize to Tom in advance, but I hate using the phrase audio fiction. And because it's it is so definitively connected to spoken word audio fiction of reading a book. So I've had people say, well, what's the difference between audio drama and audio fiction? And I said, if George R.R. Martin is on a stage reading the Song of Fire and Ice, that's audio fiction. He's reading from his book. But if you're listening to Game of Thrones, that's audio drama. I go back to the Greeks and the way that they use drama. After all, we didn't go to the fiction class in school. It was the drama class. And drama class included not just drama, but actual comedy. And if you asked, the Jack Benny show, it wasn't called the radio comedy show. It was a radio drama because it was dramatized in that way. And my biggest concern is that because there's a new generation of folks and that use other terms like audio fiction, we constantly cut up our audience, and so audience start looking for the wrong things and they miss out on so many different stuff. I would never call your industry, Tom, fiction pictures, right? It would make no sense.
Although
right?
that's a great name for a movie company. Yeah.
This is going to be like a presidential debate. I'm going to have to moderate this. Tom, you have 30. Tom Konkle, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I don't disagree that drama, if you're educated, drama encompasses comedy as well as tragedy and drama. For me, because we are hashtag and meta tag oriented, I would say something like the Flash Gordon series I did, which is a comedy. The minute I was calling it audio drama, it became invisible in the comedy search engines and the cataloging. The minute I called it audio fiction, it showed up in the guide as a comedy.
So we're at the mercy of the algorithm technology yet again.
We all are.
Again.
And I agree with Jack that, I mean, I'm a drama person, as he knows, but the conceit that I have had to make is that it is not agnostic to what the genre is. If you put drama, I got categorized in drama, and so the people you did get were disappointed, and the people looking for comedy, I became invisible. I changed it, and I got thousands more listens.
But whatever we call it, how would you guys observe? What do you guys observe about the state of it today? And Jeff, Doug, you guys, what do you think is going on in the world? How healthy is it, and what? We talked about it's not like it was in the 40s where there were three networks and network programs that you tuned in. But I think there's some things going on. Talk about it.
Well, I'm in a whole different world than the rest of you, because our group is not performing. Rather than being in Kentucky, yes, our group is not performing a recording to play over the internet. Our group performs live 4 times a year, 4 weekends a year. We happen to record those and put them on our website for viewing later, or we've given them to Pete to put on his site for audio. But so I don't even use the word audio fiction. We use the word old time radio recreation, because that's what we're doing in trying to recreate what it would have looked like. So I'm kind of in a different world than you guys, even though during COVID, our local group did some Zooms just like Project Audio did, just have our people know that we're still there. That's the only reason we did it. But so when you all talk about the recordings and the podcasts and things, that's not us. we're live actors. The one thing that I did find, though, in doing this is that we cannot reproduce exactly like they did, because that would be quite boring. Just to have people stand up at those mics and read lines, and that's it. So we kind of have to do a hybrid, if you will. We have to perform for the public and make it interesting, and even to the point sometimes of dressing in character. We just did Oz this last summer, and we had to do all that because people expected all of that. So when I hear you guys talk about your world, it's a little bit different than what I'm having to do.
Tell me about your audience. How do you get them, and are they all old people who remember radio?
We have those. My oldest person that I have, who has, by the way, been to every show in 10 years, is 90 years old. But we have, amazingly enough, kids and teenagers that come with parents and grandparents. And I don't think they know what to expect, but I think it may be grandparents saying, let me show you how it was when I was your age. Mm-hmm. And they really enjoy it. It's amazing when we have those at the end. We go out front, the cast does, and we see everybody. And I always ask those kids, how'd you like it? And they love it, because they're learning something new about the past that they have no idea what it is. And it kind of shows them this is the way it used to be. So, we get all ages.
Yeah, I think that the state of it now it's kind of exploding as far as I can see. It can be for free, and it's beautiful, and more people seem to be making it, because some of us have broadcast quality studios, like I'm sitting in right here, but it's you get a USB mic and your computer, and you can make something. And so I think it's very accessible for a lot of people to play around and do these audio dramas. And, through, like was said before, through introducing it to young people and doing audio dramas. I've done them in class, in college classes before, we're just trying to come up with sound and all that. It's a wonderful thing.
There's room at the table for everybody. Mm-hmm. When it comes to audio drama. When I first started, I was getting local community theater actors involved, people that I knew from plays that I had been in, because I was a stage actor. Community theater. I'm the son and grandson of community theater actors, and I've always loved the stage. I love to stage live audio dramas the same way Doug does in Kentucky. I put on Shakespeare. I've put on It's a Wonderful Life. I've put on different plays, reenactments of Lux Radio Theater, things like that over the years. And the audiences always love them. And I would always preface, I would walk up to the microphone at the beginning of the show and say, we're going to show you something that you may have never seen before. You may have never thought of before, but we're going to create a movie in your mind. Some words like that. And say, if you don't see the pictures in your mind as you're listening, we will give you your money back.
Oh, that's
Nobody
nice.
ever asked for a refund.
I love that.
Like, I remember too, when I saw A Prairie Home Companion in a movie theater, lots of people in there. It was a matinee. And, usually people walk out as the credits roll. No, everybody stayed. And then the lights came up, and, I was just a little misty remembering what it was like going to tapings at the CBC. But all the people were saying to each other, oh, so that's how they did radio. That is, and just all kinds of discussion and questions about it. They'd never seen this before. And then I realized, oh, yeah, that's right. Most people didn't get the kind of exposure to this stuff that I did. I was incredibly lucky to have it,
So where do you think the under 40, I mean, look at us. We're all,
bite your tongue.
You can say it.
we are in the older generations of people who are doing this. What about the younger people?
Larry, the term is circling the drain. Please distribute the property.
Wrong side
Term
of
is
50.
old. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're the wrong side of 30. That's safe. I mean, there are people,
I
do
don't
people
think there's a
who
wrong side of 30.
who have grown up with iPhones exclusively.
Well, let me jump
ahead.
in on that, Larry. That's a great question. And the other thing I wanted to just say real briefly is the state of the industry is it's never, the bar to entry has never been lower, but it's also much harder to get discovery because you really anybody can make something and you have to move a lot of coal to get to the diamonds with this. So it's very much like the independent film scene right now. There is an entire subculture of young people on Reddit. There's an audio drama subreddit. There's an OTR subreddit. I have interacted with them for the last year or two advertising my thing. Median age 25. And the interesting thing about it is why I'm passionate about audio is audio makes pictures look better. Like that I learned when I'm doing it. But if there are no pictures, audio makes you make the pictures. And there are people 25 years old who are experiencing it for the first time or going, this is like a movie in my head and it could be anything and going on.
Yes.
And everything old is new again. They're finding it as a podcast. And
It's like with vinyl records, right?
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
just going, oh, it's vinyl. It's great. It's like, yeah, we
Right,
had that.
exactly. They're rediscovering it. And it's okay for them to do that. And I think the voracious, you don't have to please everybody with our audio stuff, just enough people. And I think the younger people are resonating with their own kind of drama that they're creating, but then they're deep diving and finding stuff that they would never have looked at 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Where it's
and
like, hey,
as
I
a
found this
performer,
audio
too.
thing from the 80s and I love it. It's called Alien Worlds, and they'll be listening to it. And I'm like, I remember Alien Worlds,
Yeah.
So to me,
I heard
everything
that
old
when
is
it
new
was
again.
new.
Yeah, exactly. And the other great thing is we're meeting each other. And I when I started to meet Jack, I was like, this guy is my brother. He loves that. Pete, when you and I got each other, it was like that. And we would never have met without this technology. If there was no point,
true.
because we didn't have Zoom and we didn't have podcasting, we would not be interacting like this. And Larry, we're working together because audio is our bond. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We don't know.
Bob Mills, what do you want to speak to any of the age and particularly the? I mean, you're the one who does really go back to the oldest of the old shows. What's the value in them?
Yes, I'm the oldest traveling crap game.
The old
in New
man
York.
of the mountain.
No, I love this discussion about AI. It's very real to me because I was thinking about what really is AI. AI is just somebody making up lines and gestures and recreating a person where there was nothing before, out of nothing. And that's what writers do. we were AI. I was an AI for Bob Hope, for instance. I was thinking, I used to get into his head so far that he would say things to me like, often he would say, "Did I say da 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 da, or did you write that for me?" And I thought, holy crap, I'm so far into his brain, he doesn't know when I'm rooting around in there or if I'm not. And that's a weird thing, especially when you have a famous person like that who's saying these things in public and announcing stuff, and he can't remember whether it was his idea or you were in his brain giving it to him as an AI agent. I was just an AI agent. And the only thing I was doing, just like AI does, I picked up all of his mannerisms, all of his cadences. I knew exactly how he delivered stuff. And after a while, I did so much of this, I knew how he thought. I knew what he would go for in the way of, if you can say this or this, what would he say? And I was right all the time because I was so familiar with being inside of his brain. And so AI to me is a very familiar thing because I was just a robot, an early robot. And
But the
you
difference
like the
is,
idea of it or not,
the difference
all
is
you're
you
doing,
do have
you're
the humanity.
You're a person.
creating
Yeah.
counterfeit sounds and motions and everything to fool people into thinking. I used to write stuff for Zsa Zsa Gabor, and she'd always say to me, "Darling, why you're always talking about diamonds?" And I said, that's what your image is, Zsa Zsa. What? What do you mean? And she actually didn't really see herself as the public did. And I said, the conception is that you love diamonds, and whether you really do or not doesn't matter. It's what the perception is that matters. And this really hits home to me, this whole AI thing. And when the Writers Guild was fearful of it, that was all they were talking about on the last picket lines,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, AI is coming. You're going to replace. I say, come on, for God's sakes. And it's just
Well,
it's just another tool. It's like a smart typewriter that you
okay.
have that
Let's continue with the
things.
elephant in the room of AI. Let me first
Yeah.
ask, Orson, what roles do you see AI playing in the making of audio drama?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. AI can play a bunch of roles in audio drama. For instance, it can help with script writing by generating dialogue or brainstorming plot ideas. Can also assist in voice acting by providing synthetic voices or even helping with sound design and audio editing. It can streamline the production process and even assist with distribution and marketing. It's really exciting to see how it all evolves.
Okay, I'm not sure everybody would agree with all of that. I saw some faces
That's
being
just
made.
really creepy. And you can tell it is just gathering together a whole bunch of stuff it's found on the internet or wherever, listening to what it's heard, and then just dumping it together. It's like, let's just throw as much of this shit as we can at the wall and see what sticks.
Okay, fair enough.
Pardon my French, but
television.
really, like
Yeah.
It's always been television. Right.
I can't agree. I
what we did.
I agree with Pat. I cannot agree with Bob. I don't think that you, Bob, were an AI. I think you were using your brain. You were using your imagination. You were using your own original ideas. And AI does not do that. AI is a melding of all these other people's ideas and other people's originations that and it becomes a bland, to me, I'm picturing it as sort of a bland stew of other people's ideas. I mean, I've read your scripts. I've performed in your scripts, Bob. You're funny. You're a genius. You have these sharp jokes that come from your own experiences, not AI experiences. So you cannot, I don't want you to ever call yourself a robot. I don't want you to ever think of yourself as a robot for Bob Hope. You had your own ideas. You did your thing. So I can't even. Ugh, sorry.
Well,
AI, no.
yeah, you're
AI
right
bad.
in that respect.
AI bad.
Yeah, I used to think, God, what we do is make people appear smarter than they actually are.
Bob, you were using creativity to pull that stuff in. It wasn't that you were yes, you're taking ideas from different places, but they genuinely came from you. It was a human place. There are elements that they can do things for on the acting side of things, but there's all sorts of stuff like stuttering and laughing and putting those things that improv stuff, it doesn't work as well. And you can see this on YouTube. They're able to do these small clips, but the larger the clips are, the more it's glaringly obvious that it's not anywhere.
Let me give an example of a small clip, and it was one of the genesis of today's conversation. Some of you heard this. Audion's previous show was a 1936 script, and I fed a Microsoft AI with a new voicing capability, a few lines from that script, and told it to read it in a new choice they had of dramatic reading or whatever. And what I think is one of the astonishing things about AI is that it happens so quickly. And I mean, within 10 seconds, I had
In a
4
dimly
actors
lit
doing
room,
this.
Excitement buzzed around a haunted house set, with Dan and Dean lurking near the microphone as John prepared the audience.
Oh, here's the microphone in here, Spence.
Dan whispered, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Dean shot him a warning glance.
Easy, Dan. That mic is open. John's talking.
Dean cautioned as John stepped forward, ready to engage the crowd.
Just telling our audience a bit about our haunted house here, Mr. Dean. Hello, Mr. Cassidy say. You fellows better take over here. I've got to locate Dr. Carrington. We'll be ready to try the first pickup in a minute.
John's voice.
Well, that's remarkable for 10 seconds
It's
of work.
speaking lines.
Yeah,
But
it's
like,
pretty
there's
good. I've
no
had worse
thought,
actors.
There's no connection. It's yeah.
Not something I'd listen to for 30 minutes. I also am impressed that the narrator wasn't part of it. It interpolated that, which is remarkable. Would you guys protest if you asked an AI to create a sound effect for your show and you used that? Would that be a bad? Raise hands if that's.
No,
That's okay
not
as
the
a tool?
sound, because that's
a sound
like,
or a thing, no.
yeah,
But-
that's different. But trying to recreate something human, it's, for me, it's also like with animation where, yeah, you can do amazing stuff with computer animation, but the digital stuff, there's a coldness to the results. You compare, brilliant computer animation with, say, the original Snow White, Disney's original Snow White. There's a warmth, there's a human touch to that. And, I find every time I see something that's really computer animated, even when it's trying to be like classical hand-drawn animation, there's just a coldness to it. There's something missing.
Well, can I jump in? As someone that does this for a living, there's a couple things that I have a problem with. One of which is I actually like the act of creation. And my problem with the prompting is it implies that the only important part of the process is the person with the idea, not the team of people that interpret your script, not the people that are writing the script or doing it, but it implies, well, I have an idea, I write the prompt, and it's executed, as if that's the only part of creativity there is, because creativity is communicating that idea. The other thing is that AI is not enjoying reading your script, Larry. That's the difference. When you hire an actor to read a book, to do a script, they are enjoying it and living it in the moment while they're speaking the lines, and they're bringing that enjoyment and that engagement to it. A machine can never, a predictive language thing can never enjoy what it's doing. It can execute it perfectly, but it's a virtuoso that cannot hear music. And it does not live the music. It doesn't feel the music that it's playing. It's never going to surprise itself by going, wow, I'm feeling very sad doing this. I'm going to change my performance in the middle of it. It's going to execute it as written. And that's my problem with it. And the other problem that I have with generative AI is it's great for sound effects, or if you're doing organizational structure to your script, great. But the sameness of it, you're going to have a recursive society where we only look at, well, what worked before? Well, who were the stars before? What were the voices before? What was the structure before? Well, what happens to the people that never get a chance to be that first template, to be that first thing that you're going to try? If it's recursive every time you do it, then nostalgia is the only currency. There's no currency that is authentic.
Well, and
And may
AI
I
may be
say-
able to read drama just fine, but only humans can really do comedy because there's so many subtleties and nuances and the timing. It's like beats and that. You cannot program that into a computer to do it. AI cannot bring the humanness to that.
I love the phrase, if you're shooting for art and you fail, you get comedy. If you're shooting for comedy and you fail, you get crap.
Yeah.
That's true.
And may I say, as a director, when I'm listening, I may have a particular version of a line that I want an actor to do, and this actor surprises me with his delivery, with a version that I never would have thought of, that is absolutely perfect, better than I could have thought of myself. I don't think I could ever get that with AI.
That brought back memories. We shot a lot of shows over at NBC, a lot of sketches, and we had Roseanne Barr on the show, and I wrote a sketch about the Sherwood Forest. What's his name? The guy
Robin Hood.
steals from the rich and gives to the poor. Yeah,
that guy.
She took those lines that I'd written for her. And I thought, God, she's finding things in there that I had no idea were there at all. She was just brilliant at that. And it was the first time I had ever come upon somebody who was really that different and just such a genius at finding comedy in places where you would think it was a throwaway line, and she would get the huge laughs. And I thought, that's the genius of this woman.
I can imagine a future where some script in my library that was from 1934 could be recreated with the voices of Jack Benny and Dennis Day and sound really, really, really close enough that I could enjoy it.
For me, the thing about AI is I think of it like plastic surgery. If it's done very delicately and just as much as is needed, not so it's obvious, it can be fantastic. Like, someone who's been horribly injured or burned or anything like that. I would love to have it done on my droopy eyelids, things like that. But if plastic surgery is done to extremes, you get really frighteningly inhuman things. Nothing.
Do you think the kids will care? Those who are growing up with it now, are they? Jeff, you're shaking your head.
They're not going to care. They don't care now. It's part of their life. This is kind of devolving into an anti-AI rant. I mean, it's here. We come from a generation. I was born in the 1950s when Eisenhower was president. We grew up with all this stuff, and it's here. The kids are using it, and it's part of their life, just like a lot of kids have never not had an iPhone in their hand. So it's here. We just have to adapt to it and use it. So, it's like you can kvetch about it all you want, but it's not going to do anything. And so it's just going to get better. And I agree with you 100%, Larry. It's just going to get better and better and better as time goes on. And pretty soon you're not going to be able to tell. And
Larry,
I just think...
Orson, why should humans continue to create audio drama without the aid of computers?
That's a great point. I think the human touch is essential because brings authenticity, emotion, and unique perspectives that AI can't quite replicate. Human creators infuse their personal experiences, cultural nuances, and creativity into their work, which makes audio drama truly special and resonant. Plus, the collaborative nature of human storytelling often leads to more diverse and innovative narratives. It's definitely a blend of both worlds.
Of course, he's programmed to say that.
Something that Doug's doing that's really important, though, is the live experience cannot be replaced by AI. And I think Doug can speak to that now, of course, but I feel like the immediacy of live music and live performance is going to go way up because, again, it's going to be new for people, but it's the one way we can connect, that human connection, that there's no barrier, there's no technology involved in that.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to something you said before you really started talking about AI. You talked about people enjoying what we do and why they do it. And I want to tell you, in our work of the live theater, I don't know how many people I've had say to me, I so much enjoy, with all that's going on bad in our world, to be able to come in your theater for an hour and just not worry about the outside, that I can enjoy some wholesome entertainment, that I can listen to some great singers, that I can watch people I know perform, and it just takes my mind away from all this other stuff that we are hearing in our world today. And, you know, they can get the same thing from your all's podcast. It's a place where they can go and not have to have the world's problems.
Even if the audience doesn't recognize what the difference between what we do and what AI from a couple years from now will do, I know the difference. We're all in it because I don't think any of us are getting rich doing audio dramas, maybe audio books, but in any case, I do it because I love it and because I get into it. I feel it in the act of creation. Orson may tell me he can feel something, the act of creation, but I won't yet believe it. And I won't believe it for another 10 years at least, until they show up at the door to carry me out.
And I agree with Doug. I think I liked what you said, Doug, about, coming in to your theater and just becoming immersed in what you guys are doing and all of that. And some of the questions that you had sent us, Larry, about your audience, and I think that's important. But what I try to do is I try to make the art that's there for me to make, and I never think about my audience. Not once, ever. Because I think that once you think about your audience, then you're pandering to an audience and you're not making the art that's in your heart and in your viscera to make. And so you're compromising that. So, and so I think that there's a place for what Doug said about coming in and, I love this is great. But I also have a feeling like I always wanted to try to challenge an audience, a kind of a Brechtian thought, of getting people to lean forward and lean into what you're doing and actually think about what's going on. And so that they have maybe a week from now, that's still in their mind someplace. And I think we can do that. And I think if you listen to some of my stuff, that's what I'm always trying to do. And so I think it's important. And we all have different, and I'm not saying if you don't do that, you're wrong. It's just one way to do it. I'm not being condescending. I'm just saying that with audio drama and what Doug's doing live and what everybody else is doing, I think it's amazing.
As a performer, what I love about audio drama is, look at me. I don't look like a leading lady. I don't look like a femme fatale. And yet, through audio drama, I can play all those parts. I was always the comedy girl all through school. And here I have played murderesses. I have played mothers of somebody with catatonia who is about to be buried alive. I have had the chance to do things. And again, it's all just imagination and voices and connecting with other people, even connecting over this technology and that. It is just amazing that we can do that. And it is an escape. You can lose yourself in all kinds of different characters and worlds.
I've got to, for me, it's always got to be the human factor. I don't ever want to work with somebody who is not a human. and since I got into this, I have met so many wonderful people who helped me and who participated with me and who have become my friends, Jeff and Doug and Jack and Tom and Robert and all of you here. I've worked with all of you on so many different things, and it's just a wonderful experience that I just don't ever want to work with somebody who is like, or something that is a bot. It's got to be human, regardless of the digital atmosphere or what I'm using to edit the thing. It's got to be a human who's using the voice. Now, 10 years from now, I'll probably be dead, and it won't matter to me at the time because I'm 62 and my family doesn't ever live much longer than that. But as long as I always said, he who dies with the most audio dramas wins. And so
that works.
I want to keep creating. I want to keep working with these wonderful people in this group and outside this group, and just come up with stuff that will challenge and entertain and be socially conscious or just be funny. Whatever it takes, whatever I can bring to the table is I want to be valid.
I think it's history, and we're part of history, and it's a great history, and we're all good at it, and that's the best part of history. The best people get to the top, and those are the ones you hear about and read about, and I think AI will settle as another tool. It'll get settled into the milieu of the tools that we have.
Last Sunday, I just did my first in a long time live radio drama show, Doug, and here in the small boonies of Nova Scotia, a small group of actors who were very, very raw and rough and having fun. And that's all it comes down to. As Pete had said, there's no more intimate medium to create images and instantaneously. You don't need makeup, you don't need sets, you don't need costuming. It's all there in the sound and the voice. And as a teacher, seeing kids come alive to that is amazing. I had a workshop on Friday with drama teachers, teaching them audio drama in the drama classroom, and the excitement that they had in that group of people wanting me to give them more information, that if I can help one person, that's all that matters. So thank you.
Thank you, Jack. And thank you all for a stimulating and insightful discussion. And thank you for watching and listening today. While I'm pretty sure that computer programs don't ponder and reflect upon what they've heard, perhaps you will. Good night. That wraps up this Project Audion Special Edition. We hope you liked it. Please add your comments and share this episode with others, and then go back to listen to and watch Audion's very human actors in our many full-cast audio dramas and comedies. Until next time, thanks for listening.
I was watching it, just remembering, oh yeah, I remember being at the tapings at the CBC, that this is so familiar
I'm sorry,
to me.
but you've hit the time limit for this conversation. Please start a new chat to keep the conversation going.
There's AI for you.
Orson, spelled WHORESON.
Okay.
Orson.
I'm sorry, Larry. I can't do that.
If there's anything specific on your
That's
mind
that
or
moment.
I can't
Okay.
let you do that.
All right, he's back.
no worries at all. If you think of
Okay.
something later, just let me know. Always here to help or chat whenever you need.